Hello and welcome to the Papyrus Global News Update. I am Christiana Babayo and here are today's headlines. Israel faces pressure over Iran war plans. Taiwan open to historic Trump talks. Iran reviews US peace proposal. Floods kill 25 in southern China. WHO declares Ebola emergency as vaccine race intensifies. Kite carrying Gaza children's messages reaches Everest summit. WHO warns over rising global mental health crisis. UN backs landmark climate court ruling. Philippines orders arrest of senator wanted by ICC. Villa end 30-year trophy drought with Europa League glory. And now the news in details. Israel is reportedly considering renewed military action against Iran despite growing pressure from the United States to maintain a ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is said to be facing mounting political pressure at home, with critics arguing the recent conflict failed to weaken Tehran significantly. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump is reportedly pushing for restraint to avoid a wider regional war. Analysts say Iran's threats to global oil routes and retaliatory strikes have made Washington cautious about further escalation. Observers believe Israel may be unable to restart major operations without direct US support. Taiwanese President William Lai Ching-te says he is willing to speak with United States President Donald Trump amid rising tensions between Taiwan and China. Trump confirmed plans for possible talks with Lai as Washington considers a major arms package for the self-ruled island. The proposed conversation would break decades of diplomatic tradition, as US and Taiwanese leaders have not officially spoken since 1979. China, which claims Taiwan as its territory, has strongly opposed such contacts. Taiwan says it remains committed to peace and stability, while analysts warn that the move could further strain already tense relations between Washington and Beijing. Iran says it is reviewing a new United States proposal aimed at ending the nearly 3-month conflict involving Washington, Israel, and Tehran. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Bangay confirmed that discussions are ongoing as Pakistan intensifies mediation efforts. Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir is expected in Tehran for high-level talks. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump warned that negotiations are at a crucial stage and could quickly collapse into renewed military action. Iran insists it remains open to diplomacy, but warned that any fresh attacks could trigger a wider regional conflict. Severe flooding has devastated parts of southern China after days of torrential rainfall triggered widespread destruction and forced mass evacuations. Raging floodwaters swept away vehicles, collapsed a bridge and submerged entire streets as emergency crews rushed to rescue stranded residents and contain the damage. Authorities say at least 25 people have been confirmed dead, with several regions still cut off due to damaged roads and infrastructure. Rescue teams continue to search for missing persons while providing shelter for displaced families. Meteorological officers warn that further heavy rainfall could worsen the situation, raising fears of additional flooding and landslides in already affected areas. The disaster has disrupted transport networks, damaged homes, and left thousands temporarily displaced as recovery efforts begin across the worst-hit provinces. The World Health Organization has declared a new Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda a global health emergency. The outbreak involves the rare Bundibugyo strain, for which no approved vaccine or treatment currently exists. Health officials report more than 130 deaths and over 500 suspected cases with infections spreading across borders in East Africa. Uganda has confirmed deaths and is monitoring hundreds in quarantine. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says the outbreak is spreading rapidly. Experts say vaccine development is underway, but containment efforts remain the immediate priority. A kite carrying handwritten messages from Palestinian children in Gaza has reached the summit of Mount Everest in a symbolic humanitarian mission. The expedition, led by Jordanian-Palestinian mountaineer Mustafa Salami, aimed to highlight the hopes of children affected by the crisis in Gaza and raise funds for medical aid. The kite was carried to the 8,848-meter summit by a Nepali Sherpa team, guided by Italian explorer Leonardo Avezzano, who reached the peak at 10:48 a.m. local time. Salame, who stayed at base camp due to health issues, said the mission represents hope, resilience, and global awareness for children in Gaza, while also supporting a $10 million fundraising effort for medical relief.
We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue.
The World Health Organization says global mental health cases are rising sharply, with more than 1 billion people, about 1 in 8 worldwide, now living with a mental health condition. The warning comes as the WHO meets in Geneva for its 79th World Health Assembly. Experts say anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and other disorders are increasing, especially among young people. Despite this, most countries spend only about 2% of health budgets on mental health care. The WHO is calling for urgent global action, saying mental illness is now a leading cause of disability worldwide. The United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly endorsed a landmark International Court of Justice ruling declaring that countries have a legal duty to act on climate change. In the vote, 141 nations supported the resolution, with 8 opposed and 28 abstained. The International Court of Justice said governments must prevent climate harm and protect future generations. Vanuatu's Climate Minister Ralph Regenvanu called it a victory for vulnerable nations, while critics question enforcement and global compliance. The Philippine government has ordered the arrest of Senator Ronald Bato de Rosa, a former police chief linked to former President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-drought campaign, following a Supreme Court ruling allowing his detention. The International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for De La Rosa over alleged crimes against humanity during the war on drugs, which left thousands dead. Justice officials say he is now a fugitive, while police have been directed to force the order. De La Rosa denies wrongdoing. Authorities say the search is ongoing. Aston Villa have ended their 30-year wait for the major silverware after defeating Freiburg 3-0 to win the Europa League final in Istanbul. Unai Emery guided Villa to a dominant victory with goals from Yuri Tielemans, Emiliano Buendia, and Morgan Rogers. Tielemans opening the scoring with a stunning volley before Buendia called home a brilliant second just before halftime. Rogers sealed the win in the second half as Villa celebrated their first major trophy since 1996 and first European title since 1982. The victory has handed Emery a second fifth Europa League triumph. And that brings us to the end of today's Global News Update. But before we go, a recap of our main headlines. Israel faces pressure over Iran war plans. Taiwan open to historic Trump talks. Iran reviews US peace proposal. Floods kill 25 in southern China. For continuous coverage and breaking developments, stay connected with the Papyrus Global Television at papyrusdaily.com. I am your host, Christiana Babayo. Thanks for watching.